Can you guys hear me? So I am so excited to be asking questions tonight and to meet Sassy. Recognized from the film.
An icon.
An icon. Amazing. And I guess the first question I have to ask is, what is your bias?
Who is our bias?
Who is your bias?
Well, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. My bias is OT7, 1 through 7, which is all of them. But I always say if I'm pushed, I have a tendency for the rap line, which is RM, J-Hope, and Suga.
I love all 7 members deeply, but my bias is Jimin.
I also love all 7. As my friend Amanda, me and her are still friends, by the way, still close. I started off with Jungkook, and then it was Jungkook, and then I got wrecked by RM. So RM is my bias, but my wrecker is Tae. So.
And what is a wrecker?
Yeah, thank you. A wrecker is the one, so you're loyal to your bias, right? And there's one member of the group that he does certain things, that person does certain things, and he makes you swerve into another lane, and he's wrecking you. He's coming for you. Like, I love, like, Army, where like, oh my gosh, Tae is coming for me. Look at those pictures that you just released. So that is what a wrecker is. So you love your bias, but the wrecker, start going on the side.
You know, one thing I love about this movie is it's a movie that is both for ARMY, for fans, and also for those of us who had no idea about any of this. And I'm a total newbie, and as you can tell by my what is your bias questions. And I guess one of my questions for you guys is, how did you balance that? How did you balance making something that ARMY would love and be into, but also those of us who don't know BTS from any other band would also get into and get excited about?
I mean, that was the challenge for the film.
Yeah.
I mean, we, both Patty and I, and many of the crew, including Norman, who is here, and Yuri, who's an ARMY, our producer, we're all ARMY. And so we know that there's many things in the film that are kind of like Easter eggs that only ARMY will know and appreciate, but also we want to present, I mean, this, you know, I come from making documentaries for over 20 years, and most of the topics are about, you know, historical. Kim, actually, we worked on a project together about Grace Lee Boggs. Kim edited that. And, you know, I just lost my train of thought.
Well, because we're ARMY.
Well, because we're ARMY, you know, we wanted to tell the story kind of like, you know, a love letter to the fans, but also how do you present this historic band and the historic fandom in a way that is, you know, that other people can learn, like, you know, many people have seen the film and they're like, oh, I understand now. I understand, like a lot of ARMYs have seen the film and they say, oh, I need my husband, you know, kids, wife, parents to watch this because, you know, you understand where this whole love for BTS comes from. Yep.
I mean, I think for me, I'm a teacher and a K-pop professor. So in the classroom, I'm constantly having to explain, it's like my profession to explain concepts to people who don't know much. I mean, a lot of my classrooms are filled with fans, but a lot of people come in knowing nothing, are just curious, want to learn more. And so I just assume no one knows anything. Actually, for me, it was about balancing over-explaining. For example, like OT7, we threw that up on the screen. Like, do we have to explain it's when you love all 7 members equally? And so we kind of let the audience do a lot of assuming too, and deducing. So it was that balance as well of trying not to over-explain too much.
And it went through many versions because, you know, there were things that we just assumed everybody knew, and then we would have test screenings and people would be very confused about, like, who's this, what is this, you know, who is this member, what is this all about? So, you know, we wanted a film that would be accessible to everybody, but also one that, you know, fans would also appreciate.
Yeah, I think the graphics also really helped with that in terms of quickly giving us information so that we could feel like we're in the know and you can keep moving. Which also sort of brings me to the Sassy section. Sassy, I'm wondering, when did these guys approach you, and what was, how did they convince you to get involved in this project?
They reached out to me on LinkedIn. I didn't believe it, so I ignored it. I was like, whatever, this isn't real. And then they finally, I talked to someone at 50. I'm also a part of 50. Normally we keep it anonymous who's a part of 50, but we were like, oh, cat's out the bag, you know, they're gonna know that I'm a part of it. So then our head PR, yes, we have a PR team, they confirmed, they're like, no, this is real. They actually reached out and whatever, and so that's how I answered them. And it took off from there. I was like, oh, it involves BTS Army? Yes. I was like, definitely. Like, they're responsible for the second half of my career, basically, you know, like, I mean, yeah, like Army did it, period. So
One way that we found with Sassy, though, is that, I mean, part of how we were able to cast the film is that we knew a lot of the kind of BTS Army events that were in and around LA and across the US. And we went to an event in Los Angeles that was celebrating BTS's birthday. Every time BTS, you know, every year on June 13th,
Festa.
you celebrate their birthday, which is called Festa. Armies get together, you share, you know, treats and stories and joy and laughter. And we went to one of the events, and we met someone who was like, well, I was part of the radio campaign that got BTS played on the radio. And we're like, really? So we started talking to her, and she's like, you have to talk to Sassy. She is really kind of the field founder of getting BTS on the radio. And so that's how we found you.
And then Sassy is the one that said, you have to talk to Amanda.
yes.
And Amanda, you know, I mean, that was an incredible, I mean, to go to like rural Tennessee and find Amanda and understand that this person, you know, devoted so many months and hours and, you know, labor to getting BTS on the radio, like when nobody was listening to them, even though they had won these American Music Awards. I mean, to us, that was a really important story to tell, you know.
Yeah. How did you decide to go with that story, even though you didn't have a person on camera, and tell that story with graphics? That's I mean, I feel like that's such a successful part of the film. It's so exciting, but it's a big leap of faith as well.
I mean, that's the thing about documentaries. You have a lot of tools in your toolbox, and I credit one of the editors, Aldo Velasco. You know, he just said like, okay, we have to do something. I mean, you know, there's a lot of docs that have voiceover and audio and, you know, creative ways to tell the story. But I think, you know, it was a real collaboration, and it was really, you know, we worked with Mind Bomb Films, a company here that does a lot of great motion graphics for documentaries, and we sort of came up with, you know, we wanted it sort of in the style of Love Yourself, you know, the line drawing, but also, you know, they really nailed it. Actually, we just, you know, Aldo had drawn like little sort of storyboards, like, oh, and then, you know, maybe the waveform, the sound wave turns into something, and then they just kind of ran with it, and we, you know, kept iterating, and that's how it happened.
Sassy, we hear a little bit of it in the film, but I'm just wondering, I mean, looking at them now is so huge, but back when you were first putting them on the radio, can you just tell us a little bit more about what that was like and what kind of pushback you got?
It was HE double hockey sticks. I'm just sitting out right now. There's children here. Hello, children. It was hard, and that's why the documentary was so important to me. I was honored to not only represent 50, but represent the radio side, because becoming an Army in 2017 and playing this music, I have told them, and I've shared it, but I went through so much. I was called by peers I admire stupid, idiotic, what are you doing? You're going to get fired. Just all kinds of stuff that weighed on me, and I'm still playing this Korean music in Chattanooga, Tennessee, this red state. I'm right down the street from this Confederate cemetery, and I'm playing BTS, and I was very nervous, and but I just kept going. So that's why it was important, and it is hard at times. I'll be honest. I think I kind of talked about this last time. It is hard for me sometimes, now that they're so big, and now to see some of these same radio labels who called me stupid, and why aren't you playing my American artists, but you're playing Mic Drop and all of the other ones. I played every single one. And now to see them have their own groups now. Oh, so now you're calling me about your own group now, but didn't you call me stupid? Oh, okay. Just I have screenshots of that. All right. So yeah, so now it's hard to see even some on-air people who are just getting the interviews and all this stuff. And oh, I love them so much. I'm like, no, you didn't. It was just me and maybe a couple of other stations playing these songs. Now, oh yeah, now it's a big old thing now. So I really wanted Army recognized for how they stood by me, especially in pop music. Do you know how many Black managers, especially women, that are in pop music radio? That's it. There's nobody else. So I took that chance because of the fact of I'm like, I am a Black woman in pop music. Every time I would meet somebody, they're like, oh, so you on the urban side? No, I played Britney Spears. So recognizing that and recognizing that BTS are also, they're a minority, and the things that Amanda's saying that they were saying, just idiotic and racist like things, I was like, this is something I could relate to. So that's why I kept going, wanting to play them. So yeah, so I am thrilled, but at the same time, I was really thankful to be a part of this to represent the radio side, because I was like, you know how when you're a woman, sometimes like they try to have you, well, just a person period, they'll try to have you dumbed down like you're part of something, and you're like, I was like a pioneer. I was the foundation of XYZ, but you're supposed to be humble, whatever. I'm not gonna be humble, no. If this was hard, y'all was calling me dumb.
Take a risk.
Right? Yeah, like it was a huge risk for my career. I really thought I was gonna get fired, but I was like, guess what? Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
Mic drop,
I think right now, everybody knows about K-pop Demon Hunters. K-pop is so huge, even in the last, we have the whole thing about English language and all of that stuff, and that's just so a part of everything right now. But we really wanted to document this early stage of, BTS. It's sort of the origin of the film. It's like, how did this group sort of break through and become, these global superstars, right? Like on the backs of Army. And Army is also just as diverse as the world itself. That's really what we wanted to convey with the film, and sort of see, all of the organizing that they did, all of the
For free, and
For
just
free.
from like out of commitment to the group and to each other, and just feeling moved by the music, right? The message of the music is so powerful, and that it motivates people to basically make it their full-time job to like get BTS on the radio or push them to the top of the charts. And so yeah, it's an incredible story.
The free translators, that really
They're
that
still
really
going,
jumped out.
It's
It's amazing.
yeah.
With such a huge fan base, how did you pick the fans that you picked? You must have interviewed, first of all, tons more people, but how did you go about trying to represent different quadrants of Army?
When Grace first reached out to me about doing this project, I was like, oh God, yes, absolutely, and also like, how are we going to do this, right? It felt like an impossible feat in some ways, because the world of Army is so vast, it's so linguistically diverse, it's so regionally diverse, everything, age-wise.
And we had limited budgets.
Yeah, and time, but I think, we started by just kind of not limiting ourselves in terms of scope and scale and country and language. But in the end, we kind of came up with some milestones that we had to hit within the fandom, and try to find fans that kind of could speak to those particular milestones. And then we knew there were certain sort of genders and topics and themes that we really wanted to touch upon as well. So that kind of guided us, and that's where our imprint is sort of there in terms of the folks that are centered in this film. And then there are people that we just ran into, right? Like we would go to concerts and meet people and be like, wow, you're amazing, you have an amazing story, you're ready to share it on camera.
Like Deidre from Mexico City, we actually this is before we started the production, we were doing research. There was a Jungkook Golden Showcase in Seoul, and Patty saw this person walking around with the Mexicans for Jungkook Mexican flag around her neck, and we just started talking to her, and then there's a whole group of Mexican Army who were just so enthusiastic, and they're like, you guys got to come to Mexico City. You will see like how big K-pop is here, and we did, and it was that bazaar, the bazaar that we filmed at. Also, we didn't plan to film there; it just happened to be like happening on that weekend. Never seen one as big as that, like in the States. So. Yeah. So
and I think also within Latin America, Mexico City had been passed over a lot as a stop on tours, and so they were part of it was they really wanted to show how passionate they were as a fandom and kind of like as a way to kind of get BTS and other K-pop groups to come to Mexico City. And J-Hope happened to do a show. J-Hope being one of the members of BTS, of course, did a show in Mexico City not too long after the film came out, and it was just explosive. It totally reflected what we saw in the film.
But also just certain things like choreography, and there are certain people we have been, as fans following, like Dancing Bora, the choreographer. Also, I had been following What You Gotta Say for a while, DK TV, so there are fans within the timeline that helped illustrate, this history as well.
There must have been pressure to keep putting more and more information about the industry and like, I mean, I imagine that you could endlessly put information about the songs. I mean, you had 12 years worth of footage. How did you whittle down to this?
Really amazing editors. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's always. It's always that balance, like you said, like how much do we explain? We don't need to get into the K-pop system. It's not about that. It's about this fandom. It's about this community. And so, we always had to come back to like, this is a film through the personal stories of ARMY, through the fans, we get to understand the trajectory of both BTS and the fandom. And we always kept coming back to that. And also we made a film that we wanted to see, that we would be like an experience, right? Like, as Patty said at the beginning, like the feeling that I get when I go to a BTS concert, it's like that feeling of excitement is what we wanted to emulate in the film, like you're on this ride.
There are definitely iterations of this film where we were like in the weeds, over-explaining the meaning of a particular album, and we would just play for people, and people would be like, I don't care, or like we feel lost, or it took up too much time and space to explain certain things, so you just had to make those cuts.
Sassy, you mentioned in the film that your career changed after this. How did it change? What's going on?
Well, I've never met BTS, but they have done certain things, like the label has recognized me as being one of the early ones that has played songs, so I've gotten autographs, but they've sent it. Also, when the first movie came out, which I can't remember right now the title, but the first BTS movie, it was because of the response in Chattanooga of the fans that you saw. It was playing in all these big cities. It was like Chicago, LA, Chattanooga. And it's because of ARMY and how big of the response of me playing it that they were like, we gotta put in Chattanooga. So I was really thankful to their label for doing that. Also, getting like getting requests from probably publications that would have never thought to interview me, like Forbes contacting, Odyssey to talk to me, and I was like, man, this is all like because of ARMY, and actually the first time that we did this, when I was at the first screening, I've seen it 3 times and I was getting emotional every time, but even though I'm in radio, I was like nervous to do this talking thing. So I told a couple of members of 50. One flew in from Massachusetts, the other one left her job early and came here. She's 2 hours away. And this was at the very first one. We had never met each other, ever, but they dropped everything to come and support me. And that's the power of ARMY. That's the power of this mass fandom, and seeing them get the recognition in this just wonderful documentary, like I said, that it really is just powerful, because like I said, this is my 3rd time seeing it, and I get emotional every time at, the certain areas of just, wow, this has come a long way, and I'm thankful for the friends and family that I have met through this, so.
So, what is happening now with Army? I mean, did the other guys come out? Are they? I hear there's another tour coming up. What's happening?
They've all been released from the military, and I mean, we know as much as the rest of Army knows, which is that they're recording an album right now, and they're preparing for a world tour slated for next year, I think. But Army's just waiting, waiting for new music, and yeah.
I'm gonna tell you a little bit of tea right now.
Ooh.
So this is fun. Just a little bit of tea behind the scenes, because at the time their label was Columbia, which Republic, I'm very good friends with them too. Love them. I'm friends with all of these labels. Columbia. So at the time of the Map of the Soul, everybody thought the next album was going to be called Map of the Soul Ego. We had Map of the Soul Persona, Army just knew it. They were like, Map of the Soul Ego. So when Columbia called me and said, no, it's going to be called Map of the Soul 7, it's about the 7 of them, whatever, I was like, get out of here. I was like, it's Map of the Soul Ego. They were like, no. And when you see the video on and how Jen is in the front, that was a, from what I was told from Columbia, it was kind of going to be their like swan-like song of saying by putting Jen in front, because Jen was going first. So that's why you see it, and then the world stopped. So yeah, like to see them all out now, because I kept saying, why don't they just go in? We're all like inside anyway, let's just go into, but they did it their way, and it really worked out really good. It like happened faster than I thought it would. Like at the time it felt, oh, this is gonna be forever, but I'm like, they're all out now. Yeah. Like that's just great, and I can't wait for the tour whenever that happens. So
I mean, there was still a flood of content while they were serving. I mean, they staggered the enlistments, and they pre-recorded a bunch of stuff, and I mean, it felt like they weren't really gone, honestly, in a lot of ways. So I think that's how they kept Army engaged, and yeah, we consumed everything.
We consumed it all. Yeah.
Well, I think we have time for